The Clash of Clans team recently shared update information for the rest of the year and into 2025. Vlad, one of the community managers, recently answered questions for an hour and a half on the Reddit Talks Clash podcast, and I have selected the 10 best answers that gave us the most information and apply to most players. So let's discuss them all, including my thoughts, starting with, since the treasure hunt is live right now, what is the future of chests in Clash of Clans? I am happy that it was immediately stated there are no plans to monetize the chests. They are purely for fun and engagement. That is exactly how it should be. That means in the future, we could expect these for simply playing the game. And I am, for one, very happy about that decision. Vlad went on to say that the treasure event itself is not only designed for the most active, highest level players, it also had in mind lower town hall level players and those that don't quite log into the game every single day. And that is why there is a 48-hour timer with the 3 chests. I know it's frustrating for us active players. I would love if they just reset every 24 hours, but I can see whereby trying to engage those other players that don't log in every day will be beneficial in the long run. And he also said that that is kind of where the magic snacks come into play as well, to give people short bursts of fun within the game. After that though, he was hit with a big question. What will 2025 bring for Clash of Clans? Now he opened out by saying they are looking at bigger features as well. You can also expect them to be continuing with quality of life improvements, simplifying the UI, in general just making Clash of Clans better. We can already expect Town Hall 17 this year, since they've previously stated the new Town Hall cycle will be every 12 months now. But one thing Vlad did say in his answer, which I really liked, is that a key thing the team are focused on next year is progression and the timers. And the reason I like this is often when I meet people that have played Clash of Clans previously, I always ask, what made you stop? And there's 2 key things. Either they've reached the end game and there's nothing to do, but most commonly, the timers. The upgrade times are just way too long, and that is something that the team are aiming to tackle. They've already been reducing upgrade times quite significantly over the past year, so I'm glad to see that is a key focus, and I do believe that is something that overchargers will be able to help with. Another thing that he included in the answer of what could we expect in 2025 was more social content, trying to assure that there are more elements where people could play together. And that is great. I would say the more we can do that, the better. One thing that I think would take Clash of Clans to the next level is being able to attack at the same time as your friends, like in the same battle. Whether that's a new game mode, I don't know. Logistically, I think if they were going to bring that, Clan Capital would have been the place to do it. That's the idea of Clan Capital, but I guess we can dream. That is something that will probably remain on the features I would like to see every single year moving forward. At the same time, he mentioned that alongside all of this stuff they're working on, clearly we can expect new content for the game, but they have to assure that that is rolled out at a decent rate so that it is not overwhelming for players. And also, I would like to point out that he did say they don't necessarily have a roadmap for 2025. This is just some of the things they are thinking about, but it's great to see where the future of Clash of Clans lies. And that was only the second question. Remember, I have selected 10 from the podcast, including the future of cosmetics, why they did the gold pass, hero skin switch, what Mashup Madness event we could expect this year, and unlimited heroes. How did that event go down, and could we expect something like that in the future? The next one, though, was Builder Base and Clan Capital content. When can we expect new features for those villages? And it sounds like they don't have an exact date for that. They are aware that new content is required for the Builder Base and the Clan Capital, but they are also looking at basically how do they get a balancing act between the home village and spending time on the other villages. How many people are going to play those? So it's really just figuring out how much time they commit, but seemingly we can expect more content for both Builder Base and Clan Capital. And Vlad was asked, has there been a shift towards focusing more on revenue? It is that case of balancing between a free-to-play player someone that only purchases the gold pass, and someone that buys a lot more things in the game. What should that scale look like? And they are focused a little bit more on cosmetics now as well, which we're going to touch upon next. But essentially, they do want to speed up progression in the game and make it feel better for all players. A free-to-play player shouldn't feel left behind. I think that's something that they definitely still need to figure out a little bit, particularly when it comes to the ore management. But perhaps chests will be helping with that a little bit, since we can get starry ore from them. But he mentioned that 2024 has been a bit more of an experimental year for the team, trying to figure out what works and what doesn't, trying to remove the hero skin from the gold pass. Joking aside though, because of those experiments, the team does now know a little bit more about what works and what doesn't, and how they can best balance things. Before I share my thoughts on this topic, he did also say that they are never looking at short-term gains. It's always about how they can provide the best experience for players, and obviously looking at revenue in the long run as well, because the better experience people have with the game, clearly the more money you could expect if you have a bigger player base. Now, the one thing that he didn't mention that I think deserves touching upon is that the Clash of Clans team has grown significantly. To my understanding, it's more than doubled in size. That means there is a lot more outgoings to pay for those members of staff. What that allows is more content to be added to the game, bigger features that helps with all players, but at the same time, they need to make enough revenue to fund that bigger team. So I do think that's maybe one thing on why some people feel there has been a little bit more focus on revenue, because the legendary scenery that was recently released was $32.99, and that was not including tax for different countries. And that brings us to the next question of what is the plans for cosmetics and pricing in the future. This is one area that I have to say I am fully in support of, because the team wants to try and monetize cosmetics a little bit more, because they don't impact the free-to-play experience. It is literally just to show off those items, and I do plan on bringing a video to this channel discussing my thoughts on all of the changes recently, the superchargers, magic snacks, and the pricing of the cosmetics. In short, I am happy that they are trying to focus more on cosmetics. And actually, there was another question about building skins and troop skins. I'll just lump it in with this one. Vlad mentioned that they have to be careful on that. Sounds like it's something that's not off the table, but a building should be easy to identify, and they need to make sure that any skins don't drastically change the look of what it is for. So for example, the Golem King skin, he looks totally different. Imagine if the Eagle Artillery looked like a builder hut, as Vlad put it. So they do have to be careful on that one. I personally would not like to see building skins for that reason, because I think it would just be way too hard. The game is already very complex to read and understand within that 30-second scout window. Yes, the tactical overview has helped. I believe that's part of the reason of merging defenses, but I don't think building skins is the way to go. Troop skins, I wouldn't necessarily be against that, because it is mainly you that is looking at the troops. Maybe they would not apply to defending clan castle troops, but if they only apply to your troops, then you already know what the level of them are. The next question, kind of related to cosmetics, was the gold pass change. What was going on with removing the skin and then re-adding it to the game? And I'm going to keep this one relatively brief, because as Vlad said in the podcast, there is going to be a bigger and better explanation from the team themselves in an upcoming Inside the Builder's Hut episode. And I will be sure to do a reaction video just summarizing that as well here on this channel, so be sure to subscribe. It's kind of why I wanted to bring the second channel, just having a little bit more discussion about the game. I love listening to podcasts myself. I listen to all of the Clash of Clans ones, and I thought I would be able to do a little bit more of that over on this channel. But in short, essentially, they were looking to replace the hero skin with something that was accessible to all players. I disagree with that. I gave a lot of feedback, as with most creators, before this was even implemented, and I am happy that they reverted it very quickly. One of the feedback that I gave was essentially that, a lot of max level players, they buy the gold pass because they can convert the extra magic items for gems and they still get the hero skin. And that is just one of the bits of feedback that I provided. I'll probably go into a bit more depth on that when I do a video discussing all of the changes recently, but trying to stick to the 10 questions from the Reddit podcast on this one with regards to maxed players. How hard will Town Hall 17 be? That was another question, because Town Hall 16 is a little bit easier than Town Hall 15, and I like that it's a little bit easier. I think Town Hall 15 was way too hard. Now, Vlad shared that there is a separate team that focuses on balancing and progression of the game, and it's unclear as to exactly how difficult Town Hall 17 would be. But in my view, since they have added hard mode, they're continuing to tweak hard mode, I would suspect Town Hall 17 is a lot more like the balance of Town Hall 16. And personally, that is where I would prefer it to be as well, because it needs to be balanced for the vast majority of players, and I think there's just too big of a skill gap between the pros and, the casuals. Yes, there's that in-between area, and I still think they should try and balance the game effectively, but I think no longer should they be trying to balance the game for the pros, which I feel might have been the case with Town Hall 15. That said, with all of the changes we have had this year, one thing that we have noticed is an increase in bugs and glitches when an update is released. Particularly this last update, there was numerous maintenance breaks due to bugs, and the team is very aware of that. They actually did have a big meeting afterwards to basically agree that that cannot happen again. And I do give them a bit of grace here, actually, because as Vlad explained, the team has expanded drastically. So more people are trying to get used to, working on the game. And I would rather bigger and better updates that come with bugs for a little while rather than mediocre updates. I am absolutely in agreement that hopefully these can be cut down to a minimum, and it seems like the team is also working towards that goal. Moving on to the next topic, we had the Mashup Madness event last year, which was incredibly popular. It was the first of its type. Obviously, we've had iterations on that now, but Mashup Madness was still the most popular. Can we expect that again this year? Vlad didn't exactly give an answer. I think he's learned a few things off Darian there, where just very subtle in the way he puts things, but he did say, since it was so successful, I'm sure we could expect something along those lines this year. He didn't want to say exactly, but I think we can expect another exciting Mashup Madness event for Halloween. That brings us on to the previous Unlimited Heroes event. And the last question I've selected, what is the future for using heroes whilst they're upgrading? He kind of alluded to that we might be able to expect this again from future events. Really wasn't clear whether this is something that would be added permanently, but what he did say was that they would be looking at, is a 1-month event the right time? Could they do shorter events? Because as a knock-on effect of the heroes, since people weren't afraid to upgrade them, more Dark Elixir is required. And also, when you have a month-long event, maybe that drags on a little bit versus having it shorter, but more frequently, whereby you can have fun. I can't remember whether it was exactly this question, but I do remember him talking about on the podcast how they would like to have the game more fun overall, rather than peaks and troughs with regards to, if you like this event, perfect, you have fun for a month, maybe you don't like the next one, and, you gotta sit around for a month. That's where the magic snacks also aim to come in, and that's actually an interesting point. Maybe they could bring the Unlimited Heroes as a magic snack. I think that could work pretty well, but it seemed like from his answer on Unlimited Heroes, it's not off the cards in terms of being able to use heroes whilst they're upgrading at some time in the future, but how and when that will come, it seems it is something that the team is still looking at. Let me know what you think about all of this information, and be sure to subscribe for more discussion-based videos. Once they release the Inside the Builderhood episode, I will be sure to bring you a recap of that as well, also sharing my thoughts, so I'll see you in that video.